I've got a particular passion for music and movement as a way of managing stress and just our well-being. I think everyone should dance. Movement is Medicine is a neuroscience-backed method that was created by another lady, and she created this method based on her own history of chronic stress and trauma, that she basically couldn't get any help in this country. I knew that I was born to do this, right? Like that constant underlying anxiety that had shifted.
Nothing's accidental though, is it? Like, even if you don't know what that purpose is at the time why you were going to meet her. I always, like, every decision we make is for a reason.
Yeah.
If you don't go somewhere, it's because you weren't meant to be there. And if you do, something usually comes from that.
Because I believe that the connection isn't just that way on the dance floor. I believe that it can go up as well. Yeah. And the neuroscience is new, but the method is ancient.
If there's any kind of, especially coaching or leading in some way, life experience beats any form of academic knowledge.
Dancing to music has helped me to rebuild my body confidence, where it was so shattered, it was so broken. Trauma will rewire your brain, and dance will also rewire your brain. And that's my testimony. Rather than let the stress and trauma take me over, I have fought back, and I fought back on the dance floor.
So, Audua, welcome.
Oh, thank you,
Official
Natalie.
welcome. So nice to meet you.
It is lovely to meet you.
We've just been chatting for like 10 minutes, and
That's
you know when you
right.
feel like you just have known someone for a really long time. I'm like, oh, love that. We're vibing already, which is nice.
Yeah, indeed.
Introduce yourself a little bit. Let our viewers, listeners know a little bit more about you.
Okay, yeah, so my name is Audua. I am, I guess in some ways, a Bedford girl. Even though my mum's from Venezuela, my dad's Australian, I grew up in Bedford and moved around a lot. Currently, my day job, I work as a social prescriber for Bed's Rural Community Charity. I absolutely love that role. So that role is about working alongside healthcare professionals, whether it's pharmacists, for the most part it's GPs, and I signpost patients to non-clinical support. And I love that because it's about, like, what you're doing here. It's about seeing people. It's about hearing people.
Love
I
that.
love giving that space. And then where I've kind of moved myself down the social prescribing model is I've got a particular passion for music and movement as a way of managing stress, and just our well-being. I think everyone should dance.
I am all here for dancing.
Yeah,
I think that.
I think everyone should dance. I think we all can dance. And there's so many wonderful reasons. So yeah, movement is medicine, and I do that in partnership with Sophie, who is the founder of Bright Emotions. Yeah, and I feel like I could go on, but maybe I should stop.
You can carry on, but I'll ask you another couple of questions first. So Sophie sadly can't be here today.
Yeah.
How did you guys initially meet? How did you guys connect?
Oh, I love telling this story,
Yeah.
right? So I was working at King's Arms Church on reception, and I was kind of new to, well, I've been at the church for a while, but new to the role, and I hadn't really built any connections in church, and that was with, I did that on purpose, right?
Okay. Yeah.
But the job forced me to get to know people, and I met this lovely lady, Marion, and we would chat and everything, and then just through sharing or whatever, she told me that she was a director, I think, or whatever the role was, to Bright Emotions.
Okay.
And when she said that, I was like, oh my Lord, I was already reading up about Bright Emotions. I'd come across them, I don't know how, whatever. And I'd read this whole piece, this whole blog that Sophie had written around emotional regulation. And it really hit me hard.
Did it?
Right? It hit me hard. And I think that's because, and the backstory to that is that, I've had a lot of childhood emotional neglect and abuse, but I think it's the neglect that's really, it's the unspoken stuff, right? That's impacted me. And I'm, as a result, living with complex PTSD. And I just found that when I was reading her article that, she's talking about emotional regulation and how children learn from, co-regulation with their parents, being seen, being validated. And it made me realise on how much I'd missed out, and that why I was struggling so much as not just a parent, but as an adult generally, just feeling like a child in an adult's body and just feeling like I couldn't cope with life kind of thing.
Wow, just from reading that article,
just from reading that
you
article,
can get so much.
And I was like, I love what this lady's doing. She's supporting children and families with emotional literacy, so understanding our emotions,
Yeah.
emotional regulation, how to express them in a healthy way, because come on, we've all got unhealthy ways of dealing with
Very true.
emotions. And then so she told me about it. I connected with Sophie, met up with Sophie. She had a few of us actually that had contacted her about volunteering. Anyway, Sophie wasn't in the right place at the time, so that sort of kind of fell away.
Okay.
I bumped into her a year later at the coffee shop at King's House, and I said, let's meet up, Soph.
Yeah.
Right? Arranged to meet her maybe a couple of weeks later. And then on my way there, I'm like, I don't know why I'm meeting her. I'm up to here. I've got like I've got no room for anything else. Like, I'm really, really struggling. So as soon as we sat down, I said, I don't know why I'm meeting you. I was
for
like,
wasting your
I'm
time.
sorry.
Bye.
I was like, I did straight away. I was like, I'm wasting your time. I don't. And then she was just being Soph, right?
Yeah.
She's just so sweet and kind.
Yeah.
We just got talking, and she told me about movement is medicine.
Okay.
And so when she told me about it, what she said, check this out. I checked it out. And for those that don't know, movement is medicine is a neuroscience-backed method that was created by another lady, like only a few years back, 3 years, maybe 3-4 years ago. And she created this method based on her own history of chronic stress and trauma, medical trauma, that she basically couldn't get any help in this country. They just kept
Okay.
signing her off with all these like mystery illnesses.
Right.
And so she then, so anyway, I can tell that story later. But so the method is a body-focused meditation and then free-flow, non-judgmental movement. But to all the music that I love right? Because I used to watch things like a static dance.
Yeah.
I used to see that and I used to think, I want to do that. I want to
Yeah.
move freely, but not to that music.
Yeah. That's the thing, isn't
You know?
it?
Yeah. So it's really relatable music, Afro beats, garage, house, drum and bass, tick, 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 tick.
Love all that.
So I thought, and I could see that they were training people, right, in this movement medicine, but I thought I've got to go check it out first.
Yeah.
And when I drove down that day, right, to take part in it was Hackney, right, because Emma, the founder, she at that time, not now, she's studying a PhD, so she hasn't got time for that, but then she was doing monthly events in this venue at Hackney, right? So I went down to Hackney. Oh my Lord, Natalie, on the way there, I just kept bursting into tears.
Really?
And I was bursting into tears because I look back now and I realise that I was going to meet with purpose. Like I knew that I was born to do this, right? So I went there and I absolutely wilded out. I don't think I wasn't even ready for how crazy some of my movements are. And I don't know why I am like that way, right?
Yeah.
But whatever, that's another story.
Yeah, but your body just starts doing things, doesn't it?
That's it. And it's about, and I tell you what, when I finished that class, I was like, I have never ever, and I feel a bit teary saying it, I was like, I have never ever felt that way in my body ever.
Wow.
I'd never felt like a peace, a still, like I'd never known that. And it's made, and this method has helped to massively regulate me. And yeah, I just think that was a pivotal moment where I realized that actually this is how some people feel in their bodies.
Yeah.
And I'd never known that.
I'd
never known that safety before. I'd never known that sort of like that constant underlying anxiety that had shifted, you know.
And did it shift for that whole time you were there?
I mean, no, when you're there, you're just buzzing,
Yeah.
you know, you're listening to the tunes. It was after.
Okay.
It was, you know, small things like just interactions with my children, noticing that I'm not getting like, you know, like that so quickly.
Yeah.
And that probably lasted a couple of days.
That's brilliant. You
And
just
then-
released.
Yeah. Yeah.
was there.
I just had brought myself down to a regulated
Yeah.
place. And so that's how Sophie, so then I went back to Sophie and said, I've qualified.
Brilliant.
I said, let's come together. Let's come together because as a sole trader, I'm not getting any funding, but together we can.
Yeah.
And I work better as part of a team.
Yeah.
And it's been it's been amazing working with her. She is an incredible individual, an absolutely amazing woman. I'm so privileged to work with her.
Yeah. How lovely that as well, that day, you know, where you could have not met up with her, like you said,
Yeah.
when you were up to here and thinking I'm wasting your time.
Yeah.
But there was obviously something within you that thought, no, just go. because you knew something was coming.
Well, I don't know what I thought. I thought I better just tell her.
Yeah.
I'll buy her a coffee and we'll wrap it up in 20 minutes and she'll
Yeah.
be on her way. But in the end, we chatted for however long and here I am now.
Nothing's accidental though, is it? Like, even if you don't know what that purpose is at the time why you were going to meet her.
Yeah.
I always, like, every decision we make is for a reason.
Yeah.
And if you don't go
so.
somewhere, it's because you weren't meant to be there. And if you do, something usually comes from that.
Yeah, I'm a strong believer of all of that. Yeah.
So we're going to talk more about movement as medicine in a little bit, but I'd love to just go back a little bit and learn a little bit more about you as a person, because we've had a brief chat prior to this conversation, and I know you've been through some pretty pivotal, life-changing moments. So wherever you want to start in this conversation, let's take it back.
Okay. Where do I begin? Let me start at the beginning of the whole movement medicine thing and where that kind of started. So I had a daughter. So I've got two amazing children, 11 and 7 years old, and then 2.5, or it'll be 3 years in January. My daughter Erica passed away at 25 weeks.
Gosh, I'm so sorry.
Thank you. And it was an interesting pregnancy, right? Because at the time I was studying person-centered counselling, right? And as part of my training, I had signed up to All Nations Church because they have a sort of charity arm called The Grove. I think it is, right? I might have got that wrong. But it's all about supporting women with baby loss, and also just giving women who are maybe considering abortions and things like that some space to talk before making that decision, which I think is amazing, because often just a little bit of space to do that might change
100%,
the direction,
Yeah.
And so I had started a course with them so that I could then do some hours for my counselling course, right?
Okay.
And I signed up to the course, and the first day of that course, I think the day before, I'd found out I was pregnant. Now, let's see, I was 30, I don't know, I have no idea. But anyway, the point was my daughter had just started lower school, right? She just started reception, and I had just got a job at Bedsar CC.
Right.
So the timing, and it wasn't planned, you know what I mean? It was like a surprise pregnancy.
Okay.
And I was like, I'm not trying to go back to nappies.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It wasn't like, oh, yay. It was like, oh, no.
Bit of panic. Oh, shit.
Yeah, basically. Thank you.
Yeah.
So, and the first, and then I had to sign up. I had to attend my first night on the course, right, online.
Yeah.
And the topic was, what's a crisis pregnancy? Right. And I was thinking,
no way.
I'm having a crisis pregnancy.
Wow.
And not in the way that I would have expected either, because if you'd said crisis pregnancy, I'm thinking 16-year-old. I'm thinking 18-year-old that's not finished school or just about to start uni. That's my go-to answer for that, right? Or that stereotype.
Yeah.
But there I was, I don't know how old I was because I'm not very good at maths, right? But, I wasn't 41, which I am now.
Yeah.
Okay, so, 39.
Yeah.
Or 38 or whatever.
Yeah.
And I was like, I can't believe this. And so anyway, very quickly got my head around it and started to delight in the fact that I was going to have a third child.
Okay.
And then, just one day in January, where you're like, your belly can feel tight if you're pregnant, right? It was around that stage. And so there was definitely some movement. And I just remember not feeling her and then just going in, and then they give you the news. And so anyway, as a result of that, like there's so many different stories to tell, right? But let me move on. So after going through that trauma, and the shock of it all and everything, I would go to church. I think I went to church maybe 3 weeks later, right? And, I've been at this church for a few years now. And I feel like church was a very corrective experience for me, because I'd been to another church and had a lot of church hurt.
Okay.
And hence why before I got that job, I wasn't trying to get to know one. I was like, I don't know you, you don't me, we can't hurt each other. Yeah. So in, out.
Yeah, fair enough.
But I met people through that job, and had, as I said, if you've had a lot of relational trauma, you need relations to heal that trauma,
Sure.
right? That's this, for those that have had relational trauma and ain't trying to know or get to know anyone, the sad truth is you've got to have that corrective experience to heal
To
that.
heal it,
It's not the only way, but that's part of the
Yeah.
mix.
That's such an important point, I
It
think, to
is,
make.
yeah.
That's so true.
It's part of the mix,
Yeah.
and it's a difficult one to move through, but it's worth facing it. And so anyway, so I was in that church and I've been part of that church, and I remember the drums started going and I started to shake.
Okay.
I started to shake, and I think maybe I'd been somewhere else, I'd have locked it off because I could have, but I was safe enough in that place to say, I'm going to go with this.
Yeah.
And that shaking, right, led to maybe not that day, but it kept happening when the drums would go. Like the drums are always present, but when they pick it up, kind of thing. And that shaking led me to free flow, expressive dance. And I think, let me just be real. Like in church, it wasn't just dance; it was worship, right? Because I didn't understand why I'd gone through what I'd gone through, but I believed in a holy God that orchestrates and, do you know what I mean, is in control as such.
Sure.
And so, and there was some other stuff that fed into it. So it was really me sort of, pouring my heart out to him, just being like, I trust you, but I don't get it.
Yeah.
I know that you're good, but this really awful thing has happened, So it was a lot of expression around that, but not through words,
Yeah.
you.
Which can be such an easier
Oh
process,
my
can't
Lord.
it?
It's like a gift. That's
Yeah.
what I think. To me, dance, and I'm not saying that everyone that dance, when you come in to MIM, we're worshipping, right?
Yeah.
You do you and I'll do me,
Sure.
right? But yeah, in that context, yeah, it definitely is. And I do, there are house tracks that I put on and I worship to in my kitchen disco. Do you know what I mean? Like, because I believe that the connection isn't just that way on the dance floor. I believe that it can go up as well, and so anyway, so what that then created was, and I even remember one time my husband saying to me, this was a couple of weeks after Erica passed away, like, how much can you talk it through? Like, how much can you talk it through, right? He was like, let's just get up and move our bodies. And we put some music on and we just moved. And it was so amazing. And obviously, at the time, it was actually really powerful connection between us as well.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like that sort of,
the two of you together.
yeah, just moving.
That's beautiful.
It really was
Yeah.
like a really powerful moment. And then so after that, I just kept dancing. I just kept dancing. I kept making time for it. And I recognized, and so I did that for a year after my daughter passed away. And then Sophie told me about movement as medicine.
Right.
And so whilst maybe at home I was dancing more to worship songs, and then I listen to a lot of house, right? So I'd probably be doing it to that as well. When I went into the movement medicine class and then went on to do the training, wow, the training, I just feel like they should teach this stuff in school. Like, I'm not a massive fan of schools,
No,
right?
I'm not either.
Yeah, okay, right? I was trying to homeschool my son.
Yeah.
That didn't happen, right?
Okay.
That's another conversation.
Yeah.
But, so he started high school, but don't really want him to be there. And yeah, I just not a massive fan of schools. And what they taught on this course is about the impact of stress, right? And how music, movement, and it talks about the neuroscience. And the neuroscience is new, but the method is ancient.
Yeah.
And people will hear me, if you come to my class, I'm going to say that to you, right?
Yeah. It goes back to the Egyptians, doesn't it? The ancient Egyptians.
Yeah, well, it's just, I don't even know the whole history and science because, to be honest, I do the course, but, I'm not, the way they delivered the course, and I'm not dissing the way they delivered it at all, right? But I'm just saying in terms of my learning style, like, I'm the kind of person I have to go back and review. Like it was a lot of information.
I'm sure,
right?
yeah.
It's a lot of information, and I'm gonna say I'm a slow learner or whatever,
Yeah.
and I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Right? I'm the kind of
I am
person
as well.
that
Yeah.
I have to go over it. I might even have to like listen to the course and colour in at the same time for it to go in. Do you know what I mean? Like I'm that kind of kinesthetic learner. I've got to be doing something. So what I'm not claiming to do, and I don't believe happens when you become a movement medicine instructor, is that you know all the science, you know some of it, but for the most part, I would say the people that are qualifying in movement as medicine is they're doing that because they've got lived experience
Yeah.
of it working for them.
Which is, I say this about every industry, other than obviously, if you're a doctor or a lawyer or something where you need kind of specific certain things about things.
Yes.
But I agree, like if there's any kind of, especially coaching or leading in some way,
Mm.
life experience beats
Yeah.
any form of
Yeah.
academic
Yeah.
knowledge. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
It
You
does.
nothing can give you that same information as to
Absolutely.
you living something and then passing that forward.
Yeah. And that's what I'm here. That's
Yeah.
why I'm here today, because I'm
Hmm.
like, why would Natalie want to interview me? Well,
That's
but
why.
yeah, well, exactly. Yeah, because I have used, not just movement is medicine, the method, which, as I said before, you come to a class, it's that body focused meditation followed
Yeah.
by free flow movement. But it's more than just that.
Mm.
What we're doing when we're delivering the class is we're breaking down to people about the power and the science behind the small patterns of movement,
Uh-huh.
right? So how you can just, use your fingers in a
Yeah.
moment of your day where you're feeling
Yeah.
stressed or anxious, just to ground yourself, bring yourself back into the
Uh-huh.
present moment. One where you can, when we move our hips, we speak to our psoas muscle,
Mm.
which is a deep-seated muscle that connects the torso to your legs. Is
Mhm.
impacted by everything we're doing, whether you're sitting, standing, walking. And if you are in a chronic stress cycle, that muscle will tighten, okay, and it will shorten.
Okay.
And so movement, even just moving your hips, just speaks to that muscle,
Mm.
and it says, chill,
Yeah.
like just relax.
Which
And
makes
so,
sense, doesn't it? Like when you
yeah,
visualize that, you can understand
yeah,
behind
absolutely.
how that
Yeah.
works.
So I say to people, wind your hips, right? When you're brushing your teeth, wind your hips when you're waiting for the kettle to boil.
Yeah.
Because it's just integrating movement.
Yeah.
Like sometimes, we all know we need to be moving more, right? We all know that.
Yeah.
But we've not all got the ability, the resources, the time, the support to go and do a
Mhm.
50-minute spin class, right?
100%. Yeah.
But or take on half a marathon. But, I can on my own terms,
Yeah.
you know, have a dance. I can fit in a 5-minute dance or 3-minute track before I
Yeah.
go to work on a morning. If I've dropped off the kids and I'm like,
Yeah. Yeah.
because it's not gone well in the morning,
Yeah.
before I then go into a Teams call or go and support a client, I,
Yeah.
I can just dance
Do it
for four
anywhere.
minutes. Yeah, do you know? And
Yeah.
now I really do.
Yeah.
Like I don't have this freedom in every area of my life, but I have freedom to dance wherever I want.
That's
I
amazing.
do, and if I'm in Tesco and Tesco drops a banger, I no, because do you know what I'm
Amazing.
doing? It's I'm seizing joy,
Yeah,
and joy is a healer.
it is.
Joy is biological, and it's I'm increasing serotonin, I'm increasing dopamine, I'm letting my body come out of the stress, come into the present. It's powerful.
Yeah,
It's really powerful, and it has empowered me. It
that's
has empowered
amazing.
me
It's
to
so
not just recognize when I'm feeling stressed,
yeah,
because I think so many of us are super dissociated, not connected to our bodies. So that's what
absolutely.
the MIM method's done for me. It's helped me reconnect with my body.
Mhm.
And what I haven't written on that piece of paper, right,
Yeah,
that
on
I'm
my
about to
notes.
drop to you
Yeah,
now, Natalie,
go on.
is that I've lived with an eating disorder since I was in my late teens, right?
Okay.
Lived with bulimia.
Wow.
um, it's so funny, right? Sorry, this is so inappropriate, but I'm going to say it's because sometimes I've told people that they're like, "You mean bulimia?" Because they know I don't live with anorexia because I'm
Oh,
clearly
stop
not. Do you know
it.
what I mean? But I'm just saying. I know it's super inappropriate. People are like, really? Yeah, I do. It's bulimia, right?
Okay.
And so, and I did have it under wraps for a bit,
Yeah.
but recent stresses over the last couple of years means that it has crept into my life
Mhm.
again. But I mean, that's a side thing. But what I'm saying is, I had a very, what is it, body dysmorphia,
Dysmorphia, yeah.
and people say, some of my friends, good friends, they're like, I think you've got a bit of that. Whatever. I'm not even
Yeah.
bothered about going down that route. The point is, dancing to music has helped me to rebuild my body confidence
Yeah.
where it was so shattered, it was so broken.
Mhm.
I have, just through the movement, learning to, because Afro beats will make you move in a way that house doesn't.
Yeah,
House
it's
just makes
true.
me want to jump,
Yeah.
right? I just want to be really super childlike and
Yeah.
just be like, woo. But with Afro beats, like that connects me with the part of Audua that, maybe for years didn't dare feel sexy, didn't,
Mm.
because I thought it was up because of all the 100 million reasons why that's built up to the having
Yeah.
that core belief, right?
Yeah.
And now, moving to certain music, etc. It's just smashing that. It's smashing those core beliefs. It's allowing me to, as I said, build that body confidence, reconnect with my body, recognize when I'm feeling stress and where I'm holding that stress. And I feel then empowered to then use movement, use music, things that are accessible,
Yeah.
that I don't have to wait on a GP. I don't have to wait on a gym instructor or personal trainer.
Mhm.
I can make happen for me.
Yeah.
And that's super powerful.
That's so empowering.
It
It's
is.
that whole movement, isn't it? Like when you're moving your hips and stuff, it's like quite a sexy movement. It's
Yeah,
bringing in that feminine, empowering, like really beautiful
absolutely.
energy.
And it's not, movement medicine, I just want to highlight, it's not just for women. Yes, women
Yes.
turn up, right?
Yeah, I'm sure.
Because we have, and this is the analogy I always love to use, right? I feel like women have freedom to move. Like you
Uh-huh.
go to a dance class or if I put a hula hoop class, I don't teach hula, right? But I
Yeah.
just made that up on the spot.
Yeah.
Right? If I do a hula hoop class, it's going to be mainly women
Yeah.
that rock up.
Yeah.
But movement is for everyone, right?
Absolutely.
And, men's mental health, we don't need to go into how
Yeah.
dire that is. They need
Yeah.
support, right? And this is I'm not saying this will fix things. I'm saying this is an amazing tool
It
to
will help.
access. It will
Yeah.
help, right? And so where am I going with this? With the whole movement, I always think that women, we are free to move, okay? But we're not free to age,
No.
right? Women, we got to keep it tight. We got to keep it
Mm.
wrinkle free. We
Mhm.
got very little room to age, right?
Yeah.
Whereas in men seem to be like they get
So true.
white hair at 30 and they're a
Yeah.
silver
Yeah.
fox,
Yeah.
or whatever.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
It
Like
enhances their beauty,
yeah,
doesn't it? That's
absolutely,
the stereotype.
absolutely, and not
Yeah.
so much now, but like certainly back in the day. Women reach a certain age, you are not going to be reading the news after a certain age. You're
Yeah.
coming off. You need
Yeah.
a new, fresh, tight little,
So true.
coming on. But men, they can be 60 and they give off all this wisdom. And do you know what I mean? Like,
Mm.
why can't we carry those messages as well? But
Yeah.
so that's always the analogy that I use. I feel
Yeah.
like women have freedom around movement that men
Mm.
don't. And then men
Absolutely.
have freedom to age and women don't.
Yeah.
And these are the kind of like sort of cultural belief systems that just need like
Yeah.
tearing down,
Yeah.
don't they? Because they're
Absolutely.
just a load of, can I say it?
Yeah.
Bollocks.
Yeah. Swear away. I'm here for the swearing.
Oh, okay.
It's passion. That's what I say. It makes me feel passionate.
Yeah, it's a load of bollocks.
Yeah, it
And
is a load of
so,
bollocks.
and especially with something like dance, right? Because dance is an innate behavior,
Yeah.
right? It's not something that you and I learn to do, right?
Mhm.
Yes, we can learn
Yeah.
and become professionals and win awards and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But dance itself, right? Moving to music,
Mm.
that's an innate behavior.
Yeah.
But you do that as a baby.
I was just gonna say that. You see babies dancing.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
there's so, I mean, that childlikeness, that's what we're
Yeah.
creating in Mim, really,
Love
is that
it.
childlikeness, that playfulness.
Yeah.
And I always use this expression that we don't stop playing because we grow old. We grow old because we stop playing,
Yeah.
right? And so movement. So I feel like this is very me, right?
Yeah.
I feel like there's a
We'll go like
thousand
this.
different threads
That's fine.
that haven't actually wrapped up yet.
It's all coming together.
Hopefully.
It is.
But what was the point I wanted to make about with men?
You're
Yes,
talking about men,
men.
yeah.
This is for men just as much as women, right? This
Yeah.
is for people with, autism, ADHD, chronic pain, feeling socially
Mhm.
isolated, anxious, depressed. If you're burnt out, overwhelmed, underwhelmed, this is for you.
Yeah.
Right? Dance is there for everyone.
Yeah.
And these things that I've just listed, they're universal,
Uh-huh.
right? Doesn't matter what age, color, they impact everyone,
Mm.
just as dance can also impact everyone, right?
Definitely.
Trauma will rewire your brain
Yeah.
and dance will also rewire your
Mm.
brain. And that's my testimony. That
Wow.
is my testimony that rather than let the stress and trauma take me over, I
Mm.
have fought back
Mm.
and I fought back on the dance floor.
Mm.
And that's how easy it's been. That's why I just say to everyone, you've got to have this as part of your toolbox.
Yeah.
It won't fix everything, but make it part of your toolbox.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
I just want to touch on as well, like you talking about the women and the men. I think as well, and this is something which I've actually been going through myself recently. I'm actually going on a retreat next week.
Yeah,
It's
fun.
a body healing, energy healing retreat. So we're doing a breath work, dance,
Okay. Yeah,
kundalini
yeah, yeah.
yoga, all the things,
Yeah.
and it's going to be amazing. But it's the focus of the retreat is to get more in touch with your feminine energy.
Mm.
And I work with a one-to-one breathwork coach. And one of the things we've been working on has been tapping in to my feminine energy a little bit more, because
Yeah.
I'm naturally more of a masculine energy, that kind of alpha business owner,
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah,
that's
yeah,
kind
yeah.
of my natural way, which
Yeah.
is a massive strength in a lot of ways.
Absolutely.
But when it comes to personal life and relationships and family and all of that,
Yeah, yeah,
your
yeah. I
feminine
hear ya.
energy is so important.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
my coach always said to me, you know, getting in touch with that feminine side by moving your body, by dancing, even if
Mm.
you're a woman and you dance anyway and you do all those things, you can still unlock so much more of that energy within you by
Absolutely.
doing more and moving more.
Yeah.
And I think that's so important to let people know as well, because
Yeah.
there's more to it than
So
what
much
meets the
more.
eye.
So much. And as I said, I'm not here able to, sort of divulge or sort of spit out all the neuroscience behind
Yeah.
it, right? And so, but what you said there is
Yeah.
unlock.
Yeah.
That's what dance does. It
Mm.
unlocks stuff,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because you're, and that's what, the whole movement medicine thing, it's music led, but it's about regulating the nervous system, but it's about restoring mind and body connections. And
Mm-hmm.
that's what we do on the dance floor.
Yeah.
One of the things I love to say, and it's so true for me, is I remember who I am.
Mm-hmm.
I remember who I am. We've so many of us, as you said, we've got these different roles,
Yeah.
whether it's mum, wife, business
Yeah.
owner. But when I'm on the dance floor, moving, not to perform,
Yeah.
right?
Mm.
Moving freely, allowing my body to lead, not only just to release stress, but to to meet with myself,
Yeah.
to meet with me,
And
and
actually just
and
feel where you're
feel
at.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. This is, I always think the free flow movement, it just allows you, because, obviously all movement is great, right? But there's something different about walking, stretching, and dancing, right? Because it's not forced movement, it's
Yeah.
natural movement,
Yeah.
right? And so that's a natural way of the body releasing and
Uh-huh.
expressing. I think for years, I did very sort of high, not high energy, yeah, what was it?
High
Hit,
intensity?
yeah, high
Yeah.
intensity
Yeah.
workouts.
Yeah.
But I don't feel like it's regulated me in the way that dance has
It's
over the last
different, isn't
couple
it?
of years. And if anything, because now I understand, living with complex PTSD, that for a long time, and where I am with the complex PTSD now
Mm.
compared to 7 years ago is very different,
Is it?
right? So I just want to let people know PTSD is not a life sentence.
Mm.
Like, you can work your way through it,
Yeah.
but you have to engage the body,
Yeah.
right? You cannot just sit in, and I think, it's not me saying that. The science says we cannot just sit in talking therapy
Oh my God, I
and
could
work
not
through
agree more.
PTSD.
Do you know what? I do mindset coaching as one of my hats that I wear. And as much as I promote myself and I say I can help you,
Yeah,
I also always recommend, yes, come and talk to me and I can give you the tools in that sense to help you.
yeah,
But when it comes to releasing trauma,
yeah,
you can't just speak it. You have to physically release that trauma from
yeah,
your body, which will
yeah,
only come from movement,
yeah.
somatics, all those things
Correct.
as
Yeah,
well.
and I think, before the release, it's important that you recognise that you've got to feel it as well. You've got to
Mm.
feel, and it doesn't always. I sometimes feel that I let go of things that I didn't necessarily have to feel my way through.
Yeah.
But then sometimes it is necessary to feel and to let go, and that's why music is so gentle. It's so
Mm.
gentle
Mhm.
because it anchors us, and
Mm.
so it gives us this place of safety where we
Yeah.
can feel what we got to feel.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, if you don't, then it stays,
It's still
it's
there.
still there, isn't
Yeah.
it?
And then it
So
keeps creeping up, doesn't it?
absolutely,
You could go 10 years and it not
yeah,
creep up. But then all
yeah,
of a sudden, bang. And then
absolutely,
you're like, "Oh, okay,
absolutely,
maybe I should have dealt with that
yeah.
then."
And that's why I think, I mean, like, it's one thing to while out crazy in
Yeah.
a movement medicine class where we've all kind of signed up to do that.
Yeah.
But like a little while ago, I was at the original Culture Festival,
Oh, were you?
and
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, and Sean Harvey was playing,
Yeah.
and he dropped a track,
Yeah.
and not even just one track, like there was loads of tracks that he
He's
was
such a good
playing. He was
DJ.
such a good DJ,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And actually, I can say this because this will come out after the meme. He's
Yeah.
actually our DJ
Is
for the launch.
he? Oh
Yeah.
my, he was on the podcast.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
why. That's
yeah.
kind of this
Yeah.
is the kind of the reason we're here
Oh,
as well.
amazing.
So because of his amazing, because I listened to
Yeah.
his podcast. That
Oh,
was my first
amazing.
intro to
Love
you.
that.
And I love that he, it marries really well because obviously he's had
Mm.
this sober
His
journey
story,
as
yeah.
well. So
Wow, I just got shivers when you
yeah,
said that.
yeah, it is.
Yeah,
It's so beautiful. It's
yeah.
just like a tapestry of things pulling
Mm.
together, right? Let me not lose focus. What was I saying?
He's
Sorry.
DJing at your
Yeah.
events.
Um, oh no, I lost it.
You got a. We were talking about how you've got to physically release the emotions rather than
Yes.
just letting them stay in
Yeah,
you.
that's right. And this is what I do, Natalie. Sorry, there was a point, and it's
Don't
that far
worry.
away, and then I have to lead us there. But actually, something going back to the movement medicine thing. There was
Yeah,
something you said before that has just popped into my
yeah.
head. Sorry, I hope you can keep up with
I
me. It
can
is like
listen.
this is like
It's all making sense.
Oh,
Don't you
good, good,
worry.
good. And maybe we'll come back to the point I was going to
Yeah,
make there. But when we were talking about movement and movement that feels sexy and
yeah,
stuff like that, I say to people, I mean, well, I probably will stop saying it now, right? But I think in my pilot sessions with Sophie in the first
yeah,
year, right, we did 2 pilots where we had about, I think, 25 people turn up,
yeah.
right? And they were electric,
Really?
off the hook. And there is a video at one point or a clip of me saying, jump, skip, because when you're letting the body lead, it doesn't, if we're all up in the nightclub, right, trying to
Yeah,
look good, you're wearing a tight skirt or
yeah.
whatever. Do you know what I mean? That's
You're
not
not
your
fully
what you're not
going.
really, yeah. But
Yeah,
when it's like free flow, like, it's basically you see adults playing like children because they're
yes,
jumping, they're
yeah.
skipping, they're just being free.
That is what it's like.
But then I think I remember one time I was like, jump, skip, twerk.
Yeah,
Because actually twerking is also another way of how your body moves. It's just been
yeah.
over sexualized, but there
Mhm.
are other parts of the world where that's just
The norm.
just it's just a part of it's just a way of moving your
Yeah,
body. It's not seen as something untoward
yeah.
or as a way of do you know what I mean? It's not
Sure.
used in that way.
Yeah,
And that's what I've learnt through, certain like the Latin, the African, the Afro beats.
yeah,
I've learnt to move my bodies in a way that I'm like, I
yeah.
this evokes this in me, and actually I am sexy. Do you know what I mean? And I
Yeah.
and I can't believe I'm saying that out loud, but
No, but that's I
but
love
that's
that.
but that's what's happened for me.
Yeah.
And then that feeds into how I show up for work,
Mm.
how I am in my
Uh-huh.
relationships, my confidence to talk about, other things,
Yeah.
etc. So
It's all
it's
linked.
all linked. It's
Yeah.
super linked. So that's what you were saying that before about as your job as a mind coach. Is that
Yeah.
going to lead me back to? No, it's
Yeah.
not. I've lost it. But yeah,
It'll pop
yeah.
up.
Yeah, it's really powerful. Dance is
Yeah.
super powerful, guys.
It
Like
is.
neurologically, emotionally, physically, muscle strengthening, improving your mood,
Mm.
reversing brain aging.
Yeah.
Like what I say to people, or what say to myself actually, because whilst people see me as this like dancing lady,
Yeah.
I don't always feel like dancing.
No.
Let's be real. Like that's what this is
Yeah.
about, isn't it? I don't
Yeah.
always feel like dancing,
Mm.
but I lean into it and I never regret it.
Are you quite good at that? Like when you know that you need to dance,
Yeah,
you'll do it. You're disciplined with that.
yeah,
You're like, no
yeah.
matter what, I'm gonna do it
Other areas
anyway.
I'm not disciplined.
Yeah.
That I
But
am.
that one you are. That's fine. We can't be
Absolutely.
disciplined at everything.
I know. And but the thing is, right, when something's fun,
Yeah.
it's much easier to do so,
Yeah.
isn't it? And I know that I will never regret
No.
taking 5 minutes to dance. Do you know what I mean?
Mm.
I'll always feel better for it.
Do you start your day with a
I
dance?
try to. I
Yeah.
try to.
'Cause
I've
starting your day
learned
that way, it's like
absolutely,
boom.
and I think bless my neighbours, right? Bless my neighbours. They still smile at me. They still talk at me, right?
Yeah.
I've learned through this movement medicine thing, like even small things, right? I think I'd have never thought about playing drum and bass before 9 a.m. in the morning
Yeah.
before MIM,
Now
right?
you
Before
do.
MIM, like now I do.
Yeah.
Because if that's what I need, if I'm feeling like, oh, this is a lot,
Yeah.
that's what I go to.
Yeah.
And it's actually lovely. You know how sometimes we say to children, what you're feeling. Well, even as an adult, I don't know what I'm feeling.
No.
I could tell you what music I'm in the mood
Uh-huh.
for,
And
and then
how
I
that will make you
use
feel.
and then use that music to move through whatever
Mm.
I've got to move through.
Mm.
And then just know that something good's happening to me without having to kind of like I think we're so in our heads, aren't we?
All the time.
Exactly. We're so in our heads.
Yeah.
And that's what I've loved about movement medicine is that, you want to change the way you think,
Yeah.
change the way you move.
Mm.
And that's what this has done for me as
Mm.
well. I think what's happened for me over the last couple of years through the movement medicine is that, as I said, you want to change the way you think,
Mhm.
change the way you move,
Mhm.
right? It's that bottom up
Mm.
approach. We're so used to taking a top down approach where we talk
Mm.
to the body. Oh, I must do this. I must change this way of
Mhm.
thinking. But how many of us are stuck on a hamster wheel where
Mhm.
that's not working, right?
Yeah.
And that's where I was at. I had like 4 or 5 years of talking therapy. And yes, part of that was my counseling training. Um, but some of that was, prior to that as
Yeah.
well. And some of it was just needed.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but, again, the talking therapy helped. But after a while, I was just going round and round. And then
Mm.
the movement medicine thing, I feel like what it's done is, one, it's helped to regulate me. So I'm not always like, because I always felt I mean, I still do. I still wake up every day feeling, the first feeling I get is I'm overwhelmed.
You feel anxious?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Overwhelmed is the best word
Mm.
for it.
Yeah.
Just like, like that. But it has improved. It's
Mhm.
not the way it used to be.
Yeah.
It was off the charts before,
Yeah.
and just the dysregulation, the lack of patience that
Mm.
I've had maybe with my children. Like,
Okay.
I'm just being real.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, and
That's
I
so
think,
important to talk about that because I'm
yeah,
sure there's so many people
other members,
listening that go,
yeah.
"Oh, thank God I'm not the only one."
Yeah, and I love my mum. God bless my mum. And she's still around. But a lot of my childhood trauma comes from emotional neglect. Right, she just was not present for me,
Okay.
and I think it's because she herself was so dysregulated.
Yeah.
She herself had no mum or dad present
Mhm.
for her. Right,
Mhm.
you cannot pour from an empty cup.
No.
Right, so here I am breaking off the generational,
Yeah.
whatever you want to call
Someone's
it.
gotta do it.
Yeah, someone's got to do it.
Yeah. I feel like I'm doing
Ain't
that
it
as
the
well.
truth, right? Yeah, well, we've all got that work to
Yeah.
do. That's the work of everyone,
Yeah.
really, is to at some point recognize that the pain you went through is not your fault, but the healing is your responsibility.
Yeah. I love
Um,
that. You said that before and I was like, that is such a great quote.
yeah, it is. Oh, it's a
Can
powerful
you repeat
quote.
that
Yeah.
again?
So the pain might not be your fault,
Yeah.
but the healing is your
Yeah.
responsibility. At some point, we've
So
got to
good.
recognize that, and that's what I think I got to. I recognized that talking therapy had done so much for me, because so often that is what you're signposted to,
Mhm.
isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's through
As a
my
first
work.
step.
Yeah, as a first step. But then sometimes, well, what after?
Mm.
And as a social prescriber, I know and understand the power of nature.
Mm.
I know that there's a lot of evidence-based research to say that if you're living with anxiety,
Mhm.
mental health issues, 10 minutes of walking in
Mhm.
nature will regulate you.
Mhm.
It's a natural way to
Yeah.
regulate you. Like, playing with soil is a
Yeah.
natural antidepressant. Like, I just think
Yeah.
this stuff is amazing.
Which is again stuff that you do when you're a kid,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. But then you stop doing it, don't you?
Yeah.
And I don't believe we ought to.
No, I
Like, a lot
agree.
of people say, oh, I'm not an outdoorsy person. Fine, don't go camping for
Yeah.
7 days a week, but do go for a walk,
At least
right?
go for a walk. Yeah.
Go
Yeah.
for a walk. And so, anyway, going back to where I was saying with this, I just feel like the movement medicine, what it's done for me a couple of years is I've been able to recognize things that, because I think when I got married, I'd come out of a toxic family environment,
Mm.
right? Parents that tried their best, but just didn't have the skill sets,
Mhm.
right? Just didn't have it.
Mhm.
And then other things, into the mix as well. Self-employed parents, so they're
Uh-huh.
working ridiculous hours,
Yeah.
and then you know health, sickness, illness in the mix as well. All
Uh-huh.
those things contributing
Yeah.
just meant that when I got married, I mean, I had no idea I was living with complex PTSD.
Mm.
It was through that relationship that I realized that some of my responses are a bit
Mm.
like that.
Yeah.
I was just behaving in the way that we would carry on at
It was
home.
the norm to
It was the
you.
norm. It
Yeah.
was the norm.
Yeah.
Like, I lived in an environment where, as I said, it was toxic, and we'd go from 0 to 10, you know,
Yeah.
like several times a day, not
Mhm.
just once in a while. Like, that
Yeah.
was just regular. Like, we couldn't pass the salt without getting into an argument.
Really?
It was really,
Yeah.
um,
With movement is medicine. So I've actually been to a couple of movement is
oh,
medicine
have you?
sessions, not like
Awesome.
official sessions, but I've been to a couple of events over the last couple of years.
Oh,
And
okay.
a good friend of mine, she hosts these kind of like high vibe events, which are brilliant. And there's all different types of, I've spoken at one of them, and she has different types of speakers and coaches and all sorts of things
Yeah,
going
yeah,
on.
yeah.
And there was a movement is medicine practitioner, facilitator, however you want to call it.
Yeah.
She's done two of them. And I just remember the first time that I came across it, I was like, this is the best thing
Oh, wow. So
ever.
good. So,
So
so
cool. I
good.
just thought all of it was so cool. I'm going to let you
Mm.
explain a bit more about certain things, but the way that I experienced those sessions, what I loved the most, like what you said earlier, everyone was sober. There was no alcohol
Yeah.
involved,
Mm.
and the movement that people do that they come out with just from the music is just the most insane experience that you can be. It was like 11 o'clock in the morning, and everyone looks. If you're an onlooker, you think
Yeah.
they're all absolutely
Yeah.
smashed. Like that's the energy.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
how
yeah.
amazing that you
Mm.
can be in a place where anyone can be in that place if
Yeah.
you just surrender to what's happening,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, absolutely. And that's the word, surrender.
Yeah.
It's, because it does take courage. We're not in a habit of being in our bodies like
Yeah.
that. We do have to when I do the body focus meditation bit, right? The
Yeah.
the invitation that I tell people is
Yeah.
close your eyes,
Yeah.
right? Because and the science behind that is that by shutting off the visual senses,
Mhm.
we then heighten the touch and sound senses,
Uh-huh.
sensory systems, right?
Yeah.
So that we become more aware of what's going on in our body. That's
Yeah.
that's the purpose. It's somatic tracking, right?
Mm.
It's your body does not speak to you in words; it speaks to you through feelings and
Mhm.
sensations. So by closing your eyes, you're able to sort of work out, okay, what am I feeling? Where am I feeling? And
Yeah.
and the point of that is not to judge it.
Yeah.
It's not to make sense of it.
Mm.
It's just to sit with it.
Just
And it's
awareness.
just awareness
Yeah.
and it's just being with the body. It's about
Mm.
creating safety
Mm.
with the body, right? I think the proper term for it is somatic tracking, and it's
Mhm.
really like powerful for people living with chronic pain.
Yeah.
And for the most part, the biomedical model, which I'd have said before about prescription drugs, waiting on some type of operation, it's failing people. I can
Yeah.
say that from working in the NHS as a social prescriber.
Uh-huh.
That and actually, there's an amazing campaign called Flippin' Pain.
Okay.
Right, Flippin' Pain UK. I always feel like I'm swearing when I'm saying that, right?
Flipping
And
pain.
I would signpost anyone that's living with chronic pain to that website or to that campaign, because what their purpose is not to educate the public, but also to educate health professionals, right? Because they recognize that even the health professionals, let's be real, don't actually know what's some of the answers for
Yeah.
people living with these long-term health conditions or
Mhm.
chronic pain. And the evidence-based research says that for the most part, medication, and I'm not telling you to come off your medication,
Yeah.
right? But I'm just saying what the evidence points to. Medication, prescription drugs, a surgery aren't the
Yeah.
answers. Um,
They actually add more problems as
can
well
well, come on, that's
a lot of the
right,
time.
exactly.
Disclaimer, we're not making any medical claims, just saying.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And what the evidence does say, and this is what Flip and Pain UK are out there, trying to let people know, is music, movement, mindfulness,
Mm.
nature,
Mhm.
you know, journaling,
Yeah.
gratitude practicing. These are the things
Yeah.
that really help and make a difference.
And
This is where the evidence
yeah.
points to.
And all those
Um,
things are all around feeling,
yeah,
aren't they? Every single one of those
yeah,
things you've
yeah,
just
yeah.
said
Oh,
relate to how you
I
feel.
love that you've identified that because I
Yeah.
didn't really. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. That's what it is. And I think even at the bottom of their campaign, I think they get to a point where they're like, you know what? A lot of this chronic pain is childhood trauma.
Yeah.
It's childhood trauma that hasn't been processed,
Uh-huh.
that hasn't been felt, that hasn't been moved through.
Mhm.
Because let's be real, public transport. That's not what I meant. That's me jumping words ahead, right? Childhood trauma is a
Yeah.
public health issue.
Yeah.
It's a public health issue that
Yeah.
doesn't really get a lot of light of day, right?
Mm.
And if our children, if our families, if our communities were more emotionally regulated, had more emotional
Mhm.
literacy, more emotionally resilient,
Yeah.
like that would feed into a lot. That would feed into
Definitely.
so much. And that's why big up Brian Motions. That's why I love Sophie and
Yes.
what she does,
It is
because it's so
brilliant.
simple,
Yeah.
right? It's so simple and it's just holding space for people
Mm.
to work through their emotions, because
Yeah.
that's what we need. We need that co-regulation. We need that safety to say, I can, and that's why if you haven't got someone, music will do that for you,
Yeah.
you
And
know?
just finding those things. What I don't know if you know the answer to this,
Mm.
but frequencies, obviously all music has different types of frequencies and that affects what happens within our
Yes. Yeah.
regulation. In Movement is Medicine, do you know if the songs that are chosen have specific frequencies, or is it more just around the movement in general?
No, so the idea with movement medicine is that we are picking up the beats per minute
Okay.
throughout. So we start on a low BPM, beats
Yeah.
per minute, and we pick it up. That's why a lot of sessions will start with Afro beats
Yeah.
and end with drum and bass,
Okay.
right? And then you
Yeah.
got the garage and the house in between. Not
Yeah.
always,
Yeah.
right? But really, the emphasis, and this is where the movement medicine training is so good because they give you the whole science behind this,
Yeah.
is we're using drums
Mhm.
as a form of healing. And that's what humans have always done,
Mm.
right? Since the ancient days,
Yeah.
humans have used dance, movement. Sometimes with movement medicine, they don't like us to say the word dance because people cringe. They think, oh, I'm not a dancer. I don't
Yeah.
look like a dancer. But
Yeah.
if you're moving your moves, that's your
That's what you're
dance,
doing.
right?
Yeah.
And so, the science behind it is as I said, the neuroscience is new, but the method is ancient. So
Mhm.
we're just using drums
Mhm.
to help people find their rhythm,
Mhm.
right? And it's stress, trauma that whacks us and
Mhm.
whacks lots of systems
Yeah.
out of rhythm.
Yeah.
So music helps us to reconnect with our innate rhythm. It
Uh-huh.
helps to regulate the nervous system. It helps to complete the stress cycle, right?
Mhm.
That's another thing that we could go into after. But
Mhm.
but but yeah, so the frequencies, I don't know a lot about it. I've read
Mhm.
about it, but I haven't
Yeah.
retained it all.
Yeah.
But that is what the method's built on. It's built on building up the beats per minute. But I
Yeah.
think there's loads of studies coming out now about, how house music, the frequency, I think it's 120 beats per minute
Yeah.
is, a lot is where a lot of house music sits,
Okay.
and that's at the same BPM as your heart.
Makes
And
sense.
so that's why so many of us find it like they have an
Yes.
expression for those house lovers
Yeah.
that houses um I've lost the expression. House is
What
more
is
than a
it?
feeling. Or
Yeah.
no, house isn't just music, it's a feeling,
Yes.
right? And it
Yeah.
is. It
Yeah.
is. It's like euphoric, you can just yeah, it just takes you somewhere,
Yeah.
doesn't it,
But how amazing that's the same as your heartbeat, and then
Yeah.
that just makes so much sense, doesn't
Yeah,
it? To go, well, obviously
absolutely.
that's gonna make me feel calm and
Yeah,
chilled
yeah,
and
absolutely. That's what it does. It
regulated.
regulated. That's right.
Yeah.
And so we use the BPMs, as I said, to sort of, and that slow BPM, I mean, there's a whole science, I just can't remember it, but
Yeah.
the whole idea is about just slowing yourself down, and then that helps you to connect with what's going on in the body. Then we
Yeah.
pick up the BPM so that you feel like moving more, because that's what drums do.
Yeah.
If you pick up the drums, you want to move more, and then by the drum and bass bit, you're just like
Yeah.
fully
You're
free
fully going for
flowing,
it.
and everything's flying,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
sometimes what I find when I'm facilitating is I have a lot of movement with my hands,
Okay.
right? But actually it's the closing my eyes that help me to connect with my lower body.
Yeah.
And so whilst I'm facilitating, I won't necessarily access that part of me so much because I'm too much in my head. I'm coaching
Yeah.
in some
You
ways.
can't fully let
Yeah, I
go.
can't fully let go. But when I'm fully letting go in, like it's just wild,
Yeah.
and it doesn't have to be as wild as
Yeah.
I think this is where sometimes I think someone would look at me and think, oh, oh, she's super fit, I can't go to her class,
Yeah.
right? I'm relatively fit, right? But I've lived with chronic pain.
Yeah.
Last year, I had a lot of chronic pain in my body.
Mhm.
And I believe it's because I was working through some of the stuff we were talking about earlier,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
Um,
What kind of pain were you feeling?
I was just hurting.
Mm.
I'd have just random pains all over my body. I could not make sense of it. Some days I'd be absolutely fine. Other days I wasn't. There
Mm.
was no rhyme or reason
No
for it.
pattern to it at all.
No, yeah. Some days I'd just be, and it got to the point where, even just like making dinner was really difficult. And
Okay.
so, like, let's just be real. My children were living off sandwiches
Yeah.
and raw cucumber sticks
Mm.
and, things like that because I couldn't do any more.
Yeah.
I couldn't do any more. Um,
But that in itself, I just want to say, shout out to you for actually saying that.
yeah,
Because again, that is a common thing, which I'm sure
lots of people
lots of
can
parents
connect
are
with.
going
Yeah,
through, you know?
yeah,
And
yeah,
then they feel guilty that their kids aren't getting a nice, nutritious home cooked meal.
yeah. No,
But
I couldn't do it. I couldn't.
life happens and you can't all the time.
Absolutely. And sometimes it's okay to make the choice to be like, do you know what? I'm not making a lasagna today.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And sometimes it has to be a choice that comes not just from the mind.
Mm-hmm.
Like you know, because as I said, so many of us are locked off from our bodies.
Yeah.
That actually you're absolutely exhausted and you're still going to go make a lasagna.
Yeah.
Hello?
And how
Like,
many people push through that and then it gets 10 times worse?
absolutely. And then as a result, you know, there's an argument later with the husband, or
Yep.
there's a poor decision made at work, or you just
Yep.
can't focus on the road properly and it ends up in a
Yeah.
bump. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
Like it's okay to just pull back a
Yes.
little bit and just check in with yourself
Yeah.
and then make a decision. Like,
So
actually, do you know what?
important.
Today it's beans on toast,
Yeah.
and that's okay. They're getting
Mhm.
fed, you know.
Exactly. Tomorrow's a new day
Tomorrow's a
and we'll
new
do something
day. Yeah,
else.
that's
Yeah.
right. And so, yeah, just to speak to the people living with chronic pain, like, you know, I feel you, I hear you. It's not been for a long period of my time, but I definitely went through 12, 18 months of just dealing with chronic pain, just hurting all
Mm.
over, struggling to sleep because of it.
Mm.
And that has shifted, and the movement medicine has helped me move through that. Like,
Mm.
I would have days where I was so fatigued and I'd just get up to teach and I'd do an online class
Yeah.
and I would just do the, you know, just the
Yeah.
that bit there, and
Yeah.
somehow just dropping into the music, dropping into my body.
Yeah.
By the end of it, I was wilding out like a crazy lady. And
Wow.
the wilding out bit, like, you never have to move like that.
Yeah.
You never have to move. You just have to
Mm.
move your way.
Yeah.
You just have to be in your body. You know,
Yes.
there's no competition on the dance floor.
I've just had a thought.
Yeah.
So I'm hosting you don't have to say yes, but I would like
Yeah.
you to say yes. I'm hosting a online mindset boot camp for a
Yeah.
lot of my clients in
Amazing.
October. So 13th of October for 6 weeks.
Okay.
And one of those sessions per week are mindfulness sessions.
Yeah.
And I would love for you, it's all online,
I'd love
but I
to.
would love for you to host a movement is
I
medicine
would love to.
session
Yeah.
for one of those. I think it'd be
Absolutely.
brilliant. So tell people what was going on at the launch then for
Yeah.
people that weren't there.
So we've been awarded the Sports England funding, Bright Emotions, right?
Yeah.
We've gone after it. We got awarded it to our surprise,
Brilliant.
right? And what we'll be delivering is monthly live classes at the Harper Suite every fourth Saturday of the month,
Nice.
11 a.m. to 1 p.m.
Yeah.
Sober raving for well-being, right? I always say
Yes.
people rave to the grave.
Yes.
No,
Love it.
but you
Yeah.
rave to the grave when you understand just how powerful it is.
Yes.
And unfortunately, this part of the world, we need to have all the science to give ourselves permission.
Yeah.
You know, just having fun isn't enough reason
it's not
to
allowed.
go. Yeah, exactly. But now that you know how good for it is for you
Yeah.
physically, emotionally, neurologically, biologically, whatever, turn up. So every fourth Saturday, we'll be doing a live class with a live DJ.
Brilliant.
We'll have different DJs. Sean Harvey will be definitely part of that mix. And then we'll have some other DJs as well.
I'll put my partner forward. He's a DJ as well.
Awesome. Yeah, that's what I want. You
Greg,
know.
if you're listening, got your new gig, right?
What does he like to play? What's his...
He's garage and R&B. I like R&B,
Oh,
hip hop.
totally.
Yeah.
We could totally... And that's what's so great about the MIM method is because it's based on percussion,
Yeah.
you can mix up the genres.
Yes.
Like, I'd love to do like a soul, funk, disco version of this,
Yeah,
right?
amazing.
And then also, you know, with my Latin roots, we could do like a Caribbean. That's what I imagine calling it, a
Yes.
Caribbean. So it would be like reggae, soca, bashment, reggaeton, you
Love
know,
it.
salsa, bachata. You know,
Yeah.
there's so many different directions.
Yes.
So
Brilliant.
part of our 12-month funding project is, as well as the monthly Saturday classes that we'll be doing, we're going to be doing, I'll be delivering 2 online classes per week. So Monday mornings at 9 a.m.
Yep.
And then, did I say Monday? No, I meant Friday mornings,
Yep.
9 a.m.
Nice.
And then Monday evening, 7 p.m.
Okay.
I'm going to be doing that twice a week during term time.
Okay.
That's an hour class.
Yep.
So half an hour body focus meditation, half an hour free flow movement. In the live sessions, you get an extra 15 minutes with the free flow movement.
Okay. I'm definitely keen to join
Yeah.
some of that.
But the online, it's so good because, as you said, you know, you can access it from the comfort of your own home, camera on or off.
Yeah.
It's so interesting because I've got a couple of ladies that have been there with me since the beginning, and they're like, one of them's like, I can't turn up to this and not have my camera
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
Like, I have to have it on because I feel like that's me showing up, like
It's
being
expressing-
present.
yeah.
I want people to, you know, whilst I know they're not watching me, I want them to kind of, you know, we're moving together. Like, I
Sure.
get something out of that bit.
Yeah.
And then I've got other people that are like, I would not do this if I didn't have the option to have the camera
Yeah.
off. And I've got people that do it in their underwear.
Yeah.
You know, people in pajamas.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So you've got all that freedom.
Everything.
Yeah.
Do you know what I think is interesting? It'd be interesting to see how many people start with their camera off and then in like 3 months' time of consistency, maybe
Yeah.
feel a bit more confident to
And
turn
want
the
to
camera
turn the
on.
camera on. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And the purpose of that, you know, the reason why we've done that is because we are trying to support people to, you know, maybe not, you don't have to, but there's an option to progress
Yeah.
to the live monthly. Maybe it is about just moving at home by yourself with the camera off.
Yeah.
Maybe if you've never moved, you know, there's so many. You know, I did a Sophie had a Bright Emotions family day, right? And there were a couple of men who basically said to me they never dance,
Yeah.
even at weddings. They just
Really?
talk to people,
Yeah.
right? They just never dance. But they, as you I said, they made a decision to step out of their comfort zone, and they took part,
Yeah.
and they were moving. And that's the idea, you know, for those that are really like, do you know what? I've never really sat with me and my body before.
Yeah.
This could be a really good starting point, the online sessions.
Yeah.
And then if you're not available at those 2 times in the week, which many of us won't be, we'll then be recording those to then create an on-demand version.
Nice.
So that people can then access it on their own terms.
Yeah.
And you don't even have to do the whole thing. You could just do, I've got people that like, I just wish you could give me the body focus bit.
Yeah,
Because
just that little bit.
they don't want to go into the free flow bit.
Yeah.
Whatever, fine. I mean, I'd encourage you to.
Yeah.
Because the free flow bit is where we complete the stress cycle, right? And that's really important. The first bit regulates the nervous system, but the second part completes the stress cycle. And the science behind that is that if you think of your nervous system, it's there to keep you safe, right? Our nervous system lets us know what's going on in us and what's going on in the world. And it's designed to keep us safe. And for our ancestors, or for, you know, thousands of years ago, the stresses, you know, would activate the same nervous system, right?
Yeah.
But the stresses are different.
Yeah.
Okay. So the stress thousands of years ago would be, how am I going to eat today?
Yeah.
You know, how do I not get eaten myself?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. How do I survive?
Yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
so the stresses are there. They just look different.
Yeah.
Whereas in ours are like, okay, traffic on the way to work.
Yeah.
I'm inundated not just with WhatsApp messages, but emails, voice notes. Do you know what I mean? Social media. It's just coming in.
Just a lot
Yeah.
all the time.
Oh my God. I mean, we're just
Yeah.
not meant, I don't actually believe we're meant to communicate with that many people.
No, we're not.
You
That's
know?
why
Like, that's why everyone's burnt out,
now.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Literally.
Absolutely. So, you know, I don't even mean like ancestors. I'm talking like when I was in school,
Yeah.
you know, you would, or before mobiles,
Yeah.
just imagine our parents would call someone, arrange to meet them,
Yeah.
and they wouldn't see that person again or communicate with them
Until
the next time they saw them.
Yeah, I
But I'm
know.
now, not only do I have to arrange to meet you, I've
Yeah.
also got to communicate with you via all these different methods,
Yeah.
several times a day, several times a week.
WhatsApp, email.
Yeah.
It's not, we're not made for it, and we're not meant for it. It's definitely a thing.
It is,
I always
absolutely.
see things on Instagram, like memes and stuff, because I follow, you know, the algorithm picks up all the things obviously that you're following. And I always see things that are like, our bodies are not made for this life that we're living.
No, it's
They're not. And
Yeah,
that's why
absolutely.
mental health has gone whoosh all
Yeah.
the way up to the top. That's why anxiety is at
It's
its
through the
peak.
roof. Yeah.
Like, we're not
Absolutely.
meant to be living this way.
No. And I say that to a lot of clients. You know, they say to me, oh, you know, I'm depressed, I'm anxious, I'm overwhelmed, and, you know, I'm mentally whatever. And I think to myself, you know what? You're not mental.
No.
You know, you're not sick. You're not ill.
Yeah.
What's happening is you're responding to a sick world,
Yeah,
or a mental
exactly.
world, a
So true.
chaotic world. But just coming back to that completing the stress cycle, the
Yes.
bit. So the idea is your nervous system. You know, so the stresses are different, but the system is the same, right? So if I'm imagining, you know, going to work and, you know, traffic's stressed me out, and then the amount of emails I've got has stressed me out.
Yeah.
You know, social media is stressing me out, or all these different things that I've got to attend to, but I'm just sitting down all day. You know, I'm not using the tools that would speak to that nervous system to say the stress is over.
Yeah.
So it just mounts up, it just builds up, and then, you know, we all know we need to be moving more anyway.
Yeah.
But that's where it's so important to complete the stress cycle. And movement isn't the only way.
Yeah.
You know, laughter,
Yeah.
hugs, I think cold water
therapy.
as well, you know,
Yeah.
that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
These are sort of natural ways with no side effects
Yes.
that let the body know we've completed the stress
Mm.
cycle. You know, if you think our ancestors, you know, if they're running away from a lion, for example,
Yeah.
you know, if they're laughing, they're not laughing because they're still running away from a lion. They're
Yeah.
laughing because they've made it home safe.
Yeah. And they didn't get
And
eaten
they
by the
didn't get
lion.
eaten, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So the same would apply to us.
Yes.
If you're going through a really stressful situation, you know, these are the ways that speak to the body. You know,
Yeah.
the mind knows that the stress is over. The body
Mm.
doesn't know
But
because it's
that's
those stress responses have been activated.
yeah.
What are you doing to deactivate them, to let them know it's time to chill?
Yeah. I think that's
So
so because I think it's so important to explain to people visually
yeah,
because it helps people understand things.
yeah,
And like you just said, if you're sitting down all day and you're getting stressed about this, and this, but you're not moving, if you just visualize that experience and visualize what must be happening with all that stress, and then visualize yourself standing up and moving and just
yeah,
walking or, doing whatever it is, you can visually see
yeah.
things just kind of
Absolutely.
drifting a little bit.
Absolutely. And that's what I mean. It doesn't have to be a mim class. It
Yeah.
can just be, you know,
But it should be.
yeah, well, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, please.
Definitely
We
include
we
that.
want you there because,
Yeah.
you know, I've always said to people, there's no mim without the people. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I can have my kitchen disco
Yeah.
and go after joy and feel good for it.
Yeah.
But when we move together
Yeah.
freely, I mean, you've experienced it, and I love that
Yeah.
you've experienced
Yeah.
that, Natalie.
That's why when I saw Sophie promote movement as medicine, I was like, "Oh my God, yes.
Yeah,
I'm loving
absolutely.
that."
You know, that you know, joy is a healer,
Yeah.
right? And joy isn't just something that you access when you feel good.
Mm.
You know, actually the history of joy, right? Or where people have used it, you know, is because it's come from a place of survival. You know, you think about the trade slave and
Mm.
you know, all those, you know, lots of different parts of history,
Yeah.
right? People have drawn on dancing as a way of expressing what
Mhm.
cannot be processed through words,
Yeah.
releasing, healing, you know, expression, you know, and that's what I love about it. You know, I've learned, you know, that for a very long time, maybe as a young child, I've always been extra. And
Mm.
so I've learned to make myself small,
No, but we don't
right?
want that.
And actually mim allows
Yeah.
me to be all of me. And I think
Yeah.
actually that's maybe if I had to make sense of why I move the way I do, it's because for so long I've had all this like
Mm.
big energy to give and I've had to push it down.
Yeah.
And so now my body's like, have it,
Yes.
have it.
Yes.
And
Let
and
me
and
out.
yeah, let me out.
Yeah.
And, you know, whilst I'm like that, you know, for someone else who maybe doesn't have that story or history, you know, many of us will, you know, have felt that we've been made
Mhm.
small. But actually trauma, stress, you know, um, unconsciously, we often make ourselves small.
Mm.
So actually, when we're inviting you and Mim to stretch yourself and make yourself big,
Yeah.
you know, it's letting the body know I am present
Yeah.
and therefore I am safe. And
Yes.
that's speaking then to the mind, you know,
Yes.
and that's where the rewiring
Mm.
happens, you
I
know.
love
So
that. I think as well, one thing I remember from one of the sessions that I've done is you're really encouraged to open up your body.
yeah,
And if you, like what you were just saying, if you think of people's body language and you think of someone who is feeling small and feeling insecure and not feeling comfortable, they're often sat like that. They're sorry,
yeah, yeah.
stay by the bike. They're hunched forward. They kind of have their arms in like this a little bit, almost in like a
Yeah,
fetal position, for that
yeah,
safety.
yeah,
And
that's
you can
right.
feel it, like, when you start to open your body up, you do just feel more like, "Ah, yes,
Yeah,
like, I can feel
absolutely.
safe like this."
Yeah, and I think that's what Mim has done for me, where you know, the childhood trauma, the complex PTSD, you know, I had to move away from a victim mindset,
Mhm.
you know,
It's a big thing.
yeah, and helplessness, you know, believing because that's the feeling I had growing up
Mm.
was I was trapped.
Yeah.
I was living in this toxic family environment and you know we didn't have like aunts and uncles and stuff like that because
Mhm.
sometimes you know I think the science or the you know psychology says that you know one trusted adult can buffer the impact of trauma,
Yeah.
right? So you can have a toxic family environment, but if you've got a good aunt or a cousin or someone that you can like process and
Yeah.
talk things through, that can really help to buffer
Uh-huh.
the impact of it. But I didn't have that, so I
Mm.
felt very trapped. And often, you know, complex trauma, it's associated with like trauma survivors in the sense of people that have escaped wars or,
Mhm.
you know, refugees, that kind of
Mm.
thing. But or people that are caught up in the sex trafficking
Yeah.
industry. That's often where you will hear the word complex trauma or PTSD,
Uh-huh.
associated with those groups of people. But you know, where I've had it is because of the feeling of trapped, the feeling that I can't escape this and there's nowhere
Mm.
to go. I cannot, express myself. I've got no one to go to. I'm on my own, you know. And
Did that show up in your relationship from the beginning?
yeah, well, not didn't take long.
Yeah. Do you want to talk
And
about that a little
yeah,
bit?
it was a whirlwind. So I and this is where I say to myself now, we don't know if you don't know what love looks like, right, from your childhood, which in many ways I didn't,
Yeah.
you then can't go looking for it in a relationship, or
Yeah.
you can't tell the telltale signs of, you know,
That's not quite
actually that's
right.
not quite right.
Yeah.
Um,
And you recognize almost the negative things as the norm
yeah, yeah,
in
absolutely. Yeah. Or
situations.
you
Yeah.
just or if you've got no value,
Mm.
like I had such low value or no value for myself that I think, yeah, that I just didn't um care. I was
Mm.
just delighted someone wanted to take me off the shelf.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because I didn't
Yeah.
think anyone, and I'd had a long history of that, a long
Mm.
history of just hooking up with guys that would show me the first bit of attention because I saw myself as the ugly one. So if any guy showed me attention, then I was
Yeah.
I was off. And I don't know if I want that bit out to be in public, but that's the truth. Like that's the real talk, isn't it? That's the
Yeah.
bit where I'm sure many women will resonate with
Yeah.
that.
Definitely.
And a lot of that came from, bless my mum. My mum was just obsessed with cleaning,
Mm.
obsessed, right? Um, and so, unfortunately, the underlying message that she sent to me as a child is that the dirt on the floor is more important than you,
Yeah.
right? Because she just had, I don't know, a bit of OCD. I don't know
Yeah.
what it was. Do you
Her
know what I mean?
dealing with her stuff that she hadn't dealt with.
Yeah, yeah, that was it. So, she tried her best and she still continues to do that. But she just, as I
Yeah.
said, you cannot pour from an empty
No.
cup. And so talking about my relationship, I think what had happened is when I moved out because I'm actually moved straight out of my parents' home in with my husband, right?
Okay.
Um, I think what would happen is he would say things, do things, and I would have these like overreactions,
Right.
which were quite normal for the home
At
life that I
home.
had. But he would be like, "Whoa, what's up with that?"
Yeah.
And then there's also this cultural thing that because my mum was Latin or Latina, my dad would just let her fly off the handle and would always be like fiery Latin
Yes.
lady, and it would
Yeah.
just get brushed over.
That became the norm for
Yeah.
him.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
he was a real, like, my dad just, was a real joker,
Yeah.
and actually it's a humor used in the wrong way will create an emotional distance because I
Yes.
actually feel like I never got close to my dad because he just make a joke out of
Really.
everything. Everything was
Mm.
mocked, everything was taken the mick out
Mm.
of. Do you know what I mean? So again, unintentionally
Yeah.
emotional neglect, right?
Yes. I
Um,
think that's, sorry to just butt in there,
yeah,
but I
no, not at
think
all.
that's such a generational thing. I spoke about this in a previous episode. I think we're the first generation who are really unpacking all of this stuff. So
Feels like
yeah,
it.
it does though,
Like we
doesn't
got the
it?
machete. We're the
Yeah,
ones going through the trying
literally.
to,
Yeah, because if
yeah.
you look at like my parents are the same in different ways,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
there's
yeah.
so many things. And all of my friends, I'm 30, am I 35 or 36? 36, just 36 this year. I'm 36.
Just a number.
Just a number. But everyone who I know who's between the age of 32 to 50, everyone speaks about
Mm.
their parents in pretty much a
A
similar
similar
way,
light, yeah,
in
yeah.
the sense of they didn't deal with things that we are now having to deal with.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Um
They didn't show up in those
yeah,
ways, and they
and
were
they
just
didn't know
paying
how.
bills, and that was enough,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
And I guess what happened with my husband is that, so as I said, I'd have these outbursts, and then it was through him that he'd be like, "Okay, like you being Latina, that's not a reason for you to react that
Yes.
way.
Yeah.
That's not okay, right? That's not,
Not an excuse.
not an excuse."
Yeah.
It would never. It was very kind actually because he would always say, it's not an overreaction.
Yeah.
It's your reaction,
Yeah.
but it's one that needs looking at.
Yeah.
So that was gentle with me
Yeah.
and very healing because
Yeah.
he gave me permission. Do you know
Mm.
what I mean? That's what I mean. No one's all bad and all
Yeah,
good,
of
right?
course. Yeah.
And so yeah, and then what transpired from that is I started to have emotional flashbacks, and not just like I'm sitting down and then just I remember
Mm.
something. it would always come through watching films or listening to songs.
Okay.
And I would just have these intense reactions.
Mm.
One's like the one that I described to you when I was like, wanted to lift up the
Yeah.
table.
Yeah.
So, and I feel like the reason why that started happening for me is because I left home,
Mm.
which was the unsafe place,
Mm.
and my body felt maybe safe enough to start
Mhm.
bringing this stuff up. Or I was
Mhm.
an adult enough, so it was,
Yeah.
safe enough to start addressing it. But it was
Yeah.
always there,
Yeah.
because there were films that I would watch and I'd have intense bodily reactions to it. Like, for the most part, burst into tears and
Really?
then not be able to stop crying.
And at the
Like,
time, would you understand? Would you put two and two together, or did it feel
no, no,
totally random?
it's been a journey.
Right.
It was a journey of, I don't know, and I'm still on it because my children now always know that there are certain triggers. So I didn't know the triggers then. So now
Yeah.
I know if I watch a film, even just something like The Incredibles,
Yeah.
right? The animation film The
Yeah.
Incredibles, and I see people working as a team, that will make me burst into tears.
Really?
And it's because it's speaking to something very deep that I just
Mm.
didn't know of any of that when I was growing up.
Mm.
And I guess a longing
A
for it
longing.
as well.
Yeah. I was just thinking, what's the word there? A
And
longing.
actually, the reactions are less intense. They're not
Mhm.
what they used to be. Um, I remember watching Sister Act, right?
Yeah.
I think this was one of the first times it happened.
Classic film.
Classic film. If you ain't seen Sister Act, you're not
Yeah.
living, right? Watch Sister Act, and the timid girl that
Yes.
can really sing.
Yes.
She gets up and she starts and she sings. Now, I have watched that film 100 times,
Yeah.
and I'd never had this reaction, but on that occasion, I burst into tears
Okay.
and I couldn't stop crying. And when I say burst, as in like my face would go like that, my stomach would get punched,
Wow.
kind of thing.
So it
It
wasn't
was
like a gradual
no, it's not. No, it wasn't.
tears.
No, not at all. And
Yes.
that's what then led me to, I guess, the counselling and the need to listen to my body,
Mm.
because the cycle I went on for years is, oh, but my trauma's not that bad. Like, I didn't really go through anything. Like, I wasn't, um, sexually
Yeah.
assaulted. I mean, I have actually had that, but it wouldn't didn't happen in the home. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like,
Yeah.
um, or I wasn't
But the
beaten to
fact
a
you have had
pole.
that though, that's, and you kind of said that so casually there, but that's a massive
Yeah,
thing.
and that's something that I then have had to work through a little bit later.
Yeah.
But that's what I mean. Your body is so kind to you. It's so kind to you. It
Yeah.
will, like, we can't work through it all at
Mhm.
once, right? So it will bring it to you at the right time. And that's
Yeah.
what I believe happened when I married and moved out in that environment.
Mhm.
And my husband showed me some, like, corrective experience, not all of it, but he
Yeah.
gave me some
Yeah.
that then moved me into a place where my body started
Yeah.
to have these responses,
Yeah.
and I had to pay attention to them,
Yeah.
because I was like, wow, why am I having these intense reactions
Mm.
to this stuff? So the other thing that I would respond to is, if I ever saw anyone with their mouth covered,
Yeah.
I'd burst into tears.
Really?
And often the tears would not stay tears, it would turn into wailing. So
Wow.
it was like a proper release.
What did that come from then?
I don't know the whole story. I think it is from feeling like didn't have a voice. Like I
Wow.
like I couldn't tell my story. I couldn't
Yeah.
speak it out.
So that was a real visual
Yeah, it was yeah.
representation.
So it could happen. Like, I remember we were watching this one film, and I like action films, and
Yeah.
so this guy bursts in, this police officer, to arrest these people, and
Yeah.
then he opens the door and he sees two children with tape
Yeah.
around their mouth. Boom.
That was
And
it.
and so yeah, and so what I'm saying is, it's happened to me so many times now
Yeah.
that over the years I've now worked out what those triggers are,
Mhm.
and I've kind of learnt to understand what that tells me about, or what my body's trying to say to me.
Yeah.
This is where the pain comes from.
Mm.
This is where the hurt is. Don't ignore me,
Yeah, that's the thing
you
though, isn't
know.
it? I think whether it's a pain, a voice, a feeling, especially if you have faith, which you do, and to our listeners, whether you believe in God, the universe, whatever it is that you're believing in, if you have that faith in something, I believe that that voice, that feeling, that pain will just get louder and louder and louder and louder until you go, I got to deal with you now.
Yeah,
And that will
basically.
happen when when it's the right time.
Yeah, basically.
It's like that famous saying that the student appears when the teacher is ready, the teacher appears when the student is ready. And I can relate that to that
Yeah,
same
yeah,
thing.
absolutely, absolutely. And I think, lots of us living with chronic pain is because we're not listening
Mhm.
to the
Yeah.
pain. We're not making room for it,
Yeah.
and so it shows up in another
Mm.
way. But then the movement and the mindfulness, the music, it can help. Your body will lead you back
Yeah.
to where it needs to go.
Yeah.
And I just, yeah, so the emotional flashbacks, the hypervigilance,
Yeah.
I've got all these terms for you because I've learnt and
You've learnt them
understood it
all.
now,
Yeah.
but I didn't know it back then. But I realize now that's what I was dealing with. I was in a fight or flight mode. And so me and my husband would often get into, and it was draining for him. It was draining for him. Are you upset with me? Oh, what does that mean? He'd look at me, say something in a certain tone, and I would just constantly be trying to work out,
Mm.
what does your facial expression mean? What
Yeah.
does that tone of voice mean?
Yeah.
Because that's what I was, that's where I was coming from. I'll never forget, right? This one time, I was walking across, God bless this woman, right? I was walking down Prebent Street and I went across the zebra crossing. And as I was walking across the zebra crossing, the lady in the car that stopped to let me go, I don't know what it was about her face,
Yeah.
right? She looked at me in such a loving way. I
Oh,
burst into tears
wow.
as I was walking across that zebra crossing.
Mhm.
And I didn't know it straight away. It was only after, I think I
Yeah.
took that to therapy. I was in therapy at the time. And I said to my therapist, I think it's because she looked at me in such a kind,
Yeah.
loving way
Yeah.
that I don't know, maybe other things fueled it that day because of what
Yeah.
I'd been through. Not even maybe that day, maybe earlier that week. Do you know what I mean? As I
Yeah.
said, we're complex and it all feeds into each other.
Yeah.
But
And you might have
yeah,
just had that connection with her, you know?
yeah, I just think it was, she looked at me in such a kind, loving way,
Yeah.
and something about what I'd been through that week or that year or whatever, my body responded to that.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just another way of showing you how the hypervigilance
Yes.
works,
Yeah.
that you're sensitive to it all.
Yeah.
um
Yeah.
what else, other symptoms? Yeah, and just the sort of the shake, I
Mm.
just often find myself shaking,
Yeah.
you know um
Does it
that was
kind of come out of nowhere?
it can do,
Yeah.
yeah, it can do. And actually often what I find is that people will say things that resonate with me, and
Mhm.
I'll it's like a
Like a
like a tick,
jolt.
yeah, like a jolt. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Um, and I just sometimes feel like I don't understand all of that bit. That's the
Yeah.
bit I don't understand, but it
Yeah.
happens to me. People will say things that resonate.
So from what I know,
Yeah.
I'm gonna get a little bit education on you. What I've learnt recently through the breath work that I've been doing. So when that happens, if you have especially if it's just like a big jolt of some sort,
Mm,
it's you're releasing something.
yeah.
Something is just coming out of you. So
Yeah.
something that you've been holding in you, especially if it's that
Mm,
powerful movement,
yeah.
it's literally like, right, okay,
Yeah.
I'm out, which is
Yeah.
great. That's what we
Yeah.
want.
Yes,
Um,
absolutely.
but yeah, that is what that
And my
from what I know.
friends, they're sort of aware of it, and we just, it's just not a thing
Yeah.
anymore. But yeah, I think that's exactly what it is. It is a
Yeah.
form of release, and it's your
Yeah.
body. It's your body
Yeah.
releasing what I can't, because I don't know my mind. If I wait on my mind
Yeah.
to work it out, I'll be here all day.
Yeah.
So just allow the body
Just
to do
allow
what it's
it.
designed to
Yeah.
do. This is not, as I said, it's not new stuff. This is what
No.
actually humans have always done.
Yeah.
It's for some reason we seem to have, just like, I was even reading something the other day that apparently, like at the height of dancing with partners in the 1960s,
Yeah.
people are now 94% less dancing than we were in the 1960s.
94%.
94%.
Wow.
And I think to myself, what would happen if we went back to dancing? And that
Wow.
is literally, I mean, my mission, Natalie, isn't just about getting people dancing and raving to the grave, right?
Yeah.
What I really want for the UK, and I feel a bit teary saying
Yeah.
this, right? I just want to see more music in outdoor spaces. I just
Yeah.
want to see more music played on buses.
Mm.
I mean, I know that when
Yeah.
I go to South America, that's how it is. Like, when I would go and visit my family in South America growing up, we would go quite regularly, every couple of years or something, maybe for 2 months, right? These were the days when you didn't get fined
Yeah.
for pulling your children out of school, right?
Yeah.
My mum would pull us out like 3 weeks before and we'd go back 2 weeks late or something,
Oh,
right? It was
those were the
just not,
days.
yeah. And I remember, like, I didn't even see that much of Venezuela, right? I
Yeah.
would just, because we would just go to hang with family.
Yeah. How lovely
And
though.
yeah, and I just remember, like, every day they partied.
Mm.
Every single day. And
Yeah.
it wasn't like, I feel like in the UK, if you have a party, it's like the 21st birthday or it's a wed, like it has to be
An
arranged.
occasion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like a dance floor doesn't happen unless it's been planned for 3 months
Yes.
or whatever,
Mm.
Like we would just every day, people would pile around the house after work,
Yeah.
food would be eaten, people would talk, music would get played, and then people would
That
dance.
was it.
And it was just organic. It
Yeah.
just happened. It was never, sometimes it would be 10 people, sometimes it would turn into 40 people,
Yeah. It's just the culture, isn't
it's
it?
just the culture.
Yeah.
I think there's parts of Africa where they don't even have the word. I must look this up. I did remember it and I've forgotten it, but they don't even have a word for music
Really?
because it's just part of life. It's just
Yes.
so ingrained
Mm.
in everything they do. And I know, like, I'm speaking to a very deep part of Audua right now because I feel it in my
Yeah.
chest.
It's coming from your soul.
I long for that.
Mm.
I long to be able to go to the embankment and just have, Latin beats or
Yeah.
house music or classical music. I don't care what music, just play music.
Mm.
Just play it music, play it loud. I know not everyone's feeling that, right? But
Yeah. Yeah.
but
Yeah.
play music, play it loud, and just let me come and dance when I feel like dancing.
Do you know what? I feel like it's getting back to a bit of that. So I think what happened was, I think obviously lockdown happened, didn't it? And
Mm.
the nightlife industry since has just,
Oh,
it's
completely
out the window
changed.
a little
Yeah.
bit, isn't it?
Yeah.
But I do think that events and live events and big things like that are coming back. I think there
Yeah.
was a stage where people weren't doing it so much. And I think the generation, our next generation, so the people who are, what are they called? Are they millennials? Are we
I don't
millennials? I
know.
don't
I
even
don't
know.
know. I can't keep up with it
Carl, do you
all.
know what they're called? The young ones, the young people, the 18 pluses,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah.
They don't go out. They don't.
No, they're like their day
Yeah,
raves, don't they?
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm
But
on that too.
yeah, do you know what? But I'm here for a daytime rave.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm so much more a daytime. Take me out during the day, be in
Yeah.
bed by 9 p.m.
Yeah. Trust me,
Beautiful.
the DJ's
Bliss.
loving it too.
They are, aren't they, right? They are.
Sean told me.
Yeah, it's great.
But I think, and I guess I was actually, it's interesting this has come back because I thought of it earlier and I do love, the daytimes, right? That's great. And
Yeah.
and I've got nothing against having a drink either. But what
Yeah,
I'm
same.
talking about is rather than I have to buy a ticket to go and attend an event,
Yeah.
I just mean like in my day,
Yeah.
as I'm moving around life, I will just come across music
Yeah.
in more space. Like
Yeah.
that beautiful space where Albero
Yeah.
and the amazing Bridges once was,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
That square in other parts of the world, that would be
You're
heaving
so
with
right.
music
Yeah.
from morning till
Yeah.
dusk, wouldn't
Live
it? Yeah,
music.
live
Yeah.
music. Wouldn't even have to be like, professional. Like if I get out my phone, right? I was in the coffee shop the other day, right? Having a
Yeah.
meeting with Sean and Sophie. We're talking about the playlist, right?
Yeah.
I got my phone out to play some of the tracks.
Yeah.
And as soon as I play the tracks off my phone at like a decent level,
Yeah.
you've got people looking.
Yeah. How dare you?
Yeah, how dare you push your, do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I just feel like there's something about British, like, I don't know what it
I
is.
know.
Like I know it's not all like that,
Yeah.
but yeah, I just and so
Britain's, the UK is like the second most miserable place in the world.
is it really?
Yeah.
Well, I really do think
Yeah.
that music
That's
in
probably
more
why.
outdoor spaces, like big up DJ AG. I love that guy. I love because that's what he's doing.
Yes.
He's literally bringing joy, isn't it? And
That is
joy,
joy. It is joy.
joy is a healer. I think I don't know if we touched on it, but joy is a
Yeah.
healer.
Yeah.
That's what we're doing when we're moving to music.
Mhm.
But actually, I've got even a couple of people that attend my MIM classes that live with so much chronic pain that they don't even really come to move. They just come to listen to the music.
Which
And they
is
say to
amazing.
me, when I'm here, the pain gets switched
Mm.
off because it's an immersive experience where we
Yeah.
get lost in the music. And I think every so often they'd get up and maybe,
Yeah. Have a little
but for the
move.
and that's what we're inviting people to movement medicine. You can come and do the whole thing seated if you want
Yeah.
to. My mum, right, she logs it. She lives in Sydney, Australia. She lives with Parkinson's, right? She logs into my online
Does
classes.
she?
Yeah. And, my mum, bless her, I mean, this is like what I'm doing here. This is what I mean. It's so amazing, right? Like it stemmed from my daughter, but actually, I'm not just fighting back stress and trauma with joy. I'm actually like the way I see it, um, is I'm taking back generational joy.
Yeah.
Okay, because my mum, Teresita, she's born Venezuelan, grew up in Colombia, right? She wanted to be a flamenco dancer
Did
when
she?
she was younger, okay? And because of, opinions and standards and expectations,
Mm.
her family shut down her dream and they said, you can't do that because good girls don't do that kind of thing.
Oh.
That's for another class of people, okay? So she didn't do that.
Mm.
And growing up, and I think the way that my dad courted my mum was all on the dance floor,
Was
right?
it?
Yeah, absolutely. Because back, so
So
he
it
liked
was
to
in you. You
dance.
knew this was
Yeah,
coming.
absolutely. So, but then my mum said that when they got married, he stopped taking her dancing,
Mm.
right? And I never heard my mum play music in the house. She
Really?
never played music. I've never heard her hum a track,
Yeah.
right? So it's like, in my opinion, she switched off
Yeah.
a part of herself that is actually very alive,
Yeah.
but
How
because
sad is
of
that though?
and then I believe that my mum also let the stress, let the worry, let the busyness of life take over.
Mm.
Because that's all she was. She was just always, and I know the right word for it now, she was always dysregulated.
Yeah.
She was over responsible for the home because my dad became ill and
Yeah.
couldn't earn money. So she became the breadwinner. He was originally, became too ill to do that. And yeah, so she was just over responsible and she
Mm.
had no joy. She had no joy. It was just stress.
Yeah.
And so that's what I'm here doing. I'm regaining generational joy
And how lovely that she's showing up for
for my
your
classes now. Oh my Lord, it
classes,
means so much
which
to
have
me.
come from your childhood, really. Do
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like that's a
yeah,
full circle
full
moment.
circle. Because I used to go out for runs when I was younger, right? My way of dealing with the stress that I was going through at home was I would go running. And my dad always used to joke, he'd be like, you're there spending 40 minutes on a playlist to go run for 10 minutes.
Music is the
I was like,
priority.
music, yeah, absolutely. And those runs would turn, because I lived in the countryside,
Yeah.
those runs would turn into me dancing in the fields.
Mm.
And that's what would happen. I'd go for a run, rear off, and
Yeah.
then just dance in the fields. And I know now what that was doing for me. I
Wow.
understand now what it was doing for me. It was helping me release stress. It was helping to regulate my nervous system,
Mm.
not just the movement, not the music, but but being in nature
Yeah.
as well.
All of it.
All of it together. It was a gift. It was a
Yeah.
gift given to me to cope with that because there was no other
Yeah.
outlet, right? Oh, I just can't remember where I was going with that. But just to say that these tools were there for
Yeah.
me,
Yeah.
and they kept me. They
Yeah.
really, really kept me. And
Yeah.
so yeah, it has gone full circle. That's it. That's what I was saying about. I feel like, as I said, my mum killed off in some ways a part of
Mhm.
her that was very real. Oh, that's what I was saying about I was saying about how I long to
Yes.
have live music
Yeah.
and more dance as part of
Mm.
my daily life. Like, okay, I'll finish with this story, right?
Go on.
When I was younger, I loved watching musicals,
Yeah.
right? Because musicals, the good old Doris Day, King and I, all of those kind of
Yes. I
things,
love a
Mary
musical.
Poppins. Oh, okay,
Yeah.
awesome, right? There was something that would happen in those musicals that I longed for. I don't know if everyone's got this, but
Yeah.
Adua
Yeah.
has a deep longing for this. And they would burst into song and dance, right?
Just
And just
randomly.
randomly,
Yeah.
right? And I used to think to myself, why can't real
Yeah.
life be like that?
Yeah.
Why can't we do that? And I guess I was longing for joy, more
Yes.
joy to come into my life, right? Because
Yeah.
I, without words, knew I was missing it, okay?
Mm.
And knew that this was a fast track way to it, right?
Yeah.
Because I could be living in this really difficult home environment where I didn't feel seen, didn't feel heard. And then as soon as they burst into song and dance, that all got switched off and I
Yeah.
accessed joy. And so
Mm.
that's what maybe that is. And that's just come to me now, right?
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I
That's
just
amazing.
long for those kind of spaces that I just described in the town centre. You know, if you go to Spain, you know, you go to a park, you'll see people dancing, you'll see music flowing.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to come from professionals either.
No.
It could just be a group of young folks just, you know,
Yeah.
jamming. Do you know what I mean? Like, you know, the science says you can play an instrument and not be good at it and still gain all the, you know, biological benefits
Yes.
from it. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
So I try to, although I've dropped off a little bit, I've got a djembe drum at
Oh,
home. And
nice.
so I just try and play along to house tracks.
Yeah.
You know, I don't
That's
think I'm
great.
getting any better.
I'm gonna see you in the clubs next week
Oh my lord,
with
wouldn't it
your
be great?
drum.
I would love
Yeah.
that. I would love that. If that could happen for me, I'd be really happy, right?
Oh my
But I
God, you
don't
should.
know if I'm ever, but again, it's not about accessing the music so I can get good, because
Yeah.
then all of a sudden it's just about
It
performance.
takes it
It's
away
just
from
about,
the
yeah,
purpose.
the
Yeah.
purpose of is
Yeah.
I'm having a mindful moment.
Yeah.
I'm using fun as a stress buster,
Mm.
and I'm just having all the wonderful biological stuff that I don't have to think about it while I'm doing it, but
Yeah.
it's happening for me. It's happening for me.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's just joy as a healer. That is my big message for everyone
I
today.
love
And
that.
it can be at your fingertips. You know,
Yeah.
pick up a guitar, or, you know, drum on your table.
Yeah.
If you don't have this, just drum on your table along to music that you like,
Yeah.
and that will just get all that stuff flowing that you need to feel good.
Thank you so much. You've been an incredible, incredible guest. So informative, great energy. Your energy is just insane.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Well,
I love
I would
it.
I would love to speak on that, right? Because what's happened to me over the last year of me delivering MIMS, right?
Yeah.
And honestly, I'm wrapping up, right? But it's such a important part, and I feel like if it speaks to someone, oh, I'd just be so happy for them,
Yeah.
right? So I've recently been diagnosed with ADHD,
Mhm.
right? Inattentive as well as hyperactive, right? No
Okay.
surprise. When I told my mates, they were like, obviously, how did we like not even notice that, right? But yeah, I remember like recently, and it happened to me a couple of weekends ago, just people coming up to me saying, your energy is incredible. Your energy is incredible. I wish I could bottle it up,
Yeah.
right? And I was thinking about that. I was sort of, you know, and one of the things that I have a real hang up on is I always feel like so one of my core beliefs that I'm trying to shift is I'm stupid. Okay.
Okay.
I've got this core belief. I won't go into the long history. I don't even know the whole history of it,
Yeah.
right? But it's there because I get super intimidated. Like when I have clients that are a bit posh,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Or they start saying to me that they've got this kind of job role,
Mhm.
some panic
Right.
goes through me, and I think I'm not enough in this space,
Mm.
right? And I know that's something that I'm trying to work through.
Yeah.
And what's helped me through the movement medicine thing is recognize that success, and this is what I put in the piece of paper, success and worth doesn't all come from, you know, having the grades, having the status, having the job title.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I've thought to myself, oh, you know, movement medicine instructor, like, you know, what is that? Like, what have I become? Like, is that, you know, is that it kind of thing, you
Okay.
know? Like, because anyone actually really could, and anyone can. And I actually encourage you to do that, right?
Yeah.
Because if we're waiting on just Adua to deliver movement medicine, that's not going to help the world, right?
Sure.
Okay. We need more movement medicine instructors. So there's training available, they can access it.
Yeah.
But I think the point I'm trying to make is that I never really valued my energy as something that's of worth to
Yeah.
others,
Yeah.
right? And actually what I've realized and come to, and this truth hasn't entered here. It's sitting here, but it hasn't reached the, you know, the
Okay.
place that it needs to. Um, what I'm doing on the dance floor is bringing freedom. I like to call myself a freedom bringer
Yeah.
and a joy bringer,
Yeah.
right? And that those terms were actually spoken over me by other people, and I've just run with it,
Yeah.
okay? And then when I've meditated and sort of thought about that, I thought, actually, do you know what? In a world that's super stressed out, burnt out, overwhelmed, that's actually really important.
It's really
So
important.
whilst I might not be able to do your accounts or diagnose you with, you know, whatever physical illness is,
Yeah.
or I might not be able to talk on political issues, or do you know
Yeah.
what I mean? I can't touch that academic stuff.
Yeah.
I sort of fail a bit miserably on it.
Yeah.
And I think of it is because I've just not had capacity. I think for so long my brain has just been keep safe, keep survival, that all
Survival
that other
mode.
stuff hasn't been able to sink in
Mm.
because I'm just trying to stay alive, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
But anyway, the point I'm trying to make is my energy, it does impact people.
Yeah.
I've learned to accept that now because I've had enough people tell me.
Mm.
And so, yeah, I just want to speak to those people that think that maybe, you know, it has to come in all these other forms,
Yeah.
that actually success and value comes in lots of different shapes and sizes. And I've just found one that fits me.
Yeah.
And so,
And that can take, that can happen at any age as well.
yes,
I think that's really important.
absolutely. So, so
Yeah.
important. So, so important. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Natalie.
You're
Thank you so
welcome.
much. It's just been such a privilege. I just want to honour you and just say thank you so much for
Oh,
creating space like this.
thank
And
you.
thank you that I didn't need to send you a whole load of qualifications in order to
Yeah.
come here. You just
Yeah.
made and just thought, you know what, she's a person, I'm a person,
Yeah.
let's talk. And I just love that. I think what you're doing here is recognizing that everyone's got a story to tell.
Uh-huh.
Everyone's got something that's worth sharing. And that's
100%.
really, really, really powerful. So thank you for
Oh,
giving us all the permission to show up.
you're so welcome. And thank you for coming.
Yeah.
Where can people find you and Movement is Medicine? Is there social media? Is there a
Yeah,
website?
I wish there wasn't because I hate it.
Go on.
And wait until word of mouth can work for me, right? Where you can find me is I call myself at Bright Emotions.
Yeah.
Right? I'm linked up with Sophie. Her and I are in this for the long run.
Yeah.
So at Bright Emotions _ is hers. That's on Insta. Or Bright Emotions CIC. You can Google that. And then to find me, I call myself on Insta at the Audua.
Okay.
And the only reason I do that is because I guess part of movement medicine, what it's become for me, is inner child work
Yeah.
in some ways.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I am the Audua, right? There is no Audua before me or after. You know, there might be another Audua out there, or say, you know, for people that've got, you know, Sophie, Anne's, Mary's, you know, there's only one of you.
Yeah.
So show up and be you, right?
Yeah.
Because the world needs you
Yeah.
to be all of you, right? When you're getting a cookie cutter version, or where we get a sort of held back, no, we need you to be all of you. And that's why movement medicine is so powerful, because it reminds you who you are.
Wow. I
Yeah.
love that. The Audua.
The Audua.
I'm not even following you yet. I only
Oh,
bloody met you yesterday, a couple of days ago.
that's fine.
I love
we
it.
can do all the following
We'll
after.
do all the following after.
We do all the
Thank
following
you so
after.
much.
And I'll see you in October.
Yes.
Yeah, that would
thank
be
you
really
so
good.
much.
Yeah, thank
And
you.
thank you guys for tuning in. Please make sure you subscribe, like, follow, share, everything, all the things. I will post all your bits as well in the description so people can link up to you.